Yes. Thank you. And here I give a word to Solveig to Norway.
And thank you very much, Liz. I just put on my camera for a second, and I'm just like to say hello, and I'm very happy to be here tonight. And I will immediately start sharing my presentation, and then I take off my camera again. Thank you. Okay. Here we are. Here we are. Just like to have it on the whole screen. Okay. And I take away my camera. Yes. Okay. Yes, again, hello and good evening to everyone. And in a quite short time, I'm happy to try to give you some glimpse of a living tradition in Norway, which are the traditional costumes. And my name is Solveig Grinder, and I work as a senior advisor at the Norwegian Folk Art and Craft Association. And since 2017, I have spent most of my working time with nominating the use of bunad or traditional costumes to UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage. With that, I will come back to a bit later. To start off, I would like to give you a short introduction about our organization, and then I will speak about the use of bunad or local costumes in Norway. And finally, I will give you an overview of the safeguarding effort. The Norwegian Folk Art and Craft Association, Norges Husflidslag, is founded in 1910, and we are an NGO, a non-governmental organization. And our greatest task is to keep handicraft alive as culture and industry in Norway. And we do this by safeguarding, conveying, and renewing handicraft traditions. And in this slide, you can see the numbers of our organization, and you can see that we are fairly big and we are present all over Norway. The organization is led by a central administration in Oslo, and we do also have 18 craft advisors working regionally to support the initiative and help the regional craft guilds and local member groups. In addition, we do also have member categories like professional handicrafters and the local craft shops. I also like to mention this initiative, which is called the Red List of Endangered Crafts, because in 2014, our organization became the third UNESCO accredited non-governmental organization in Norway. And we're very proud to be acknowledged as an expert organization in our field and to have an advisory role towards UNESCO's work with the convention. And we are also Norway's largest provider of handicraft courses. Teaching craft skills is a major part of our work. Local member groups across the country offers a wide variety of courses and all kinds of materials, and we have classes from beginner level to the expert level and for all ages. And through our bunad and folk dressing training program, we also offer courses modeled together with the requirements for professional bunad making certificates. This was a very important day for the tradition in Norway. Traditional costumes in Norway, craftsmanship and social practice. It was inscribed on the UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage. And that was after a 7-year of systematically work. The nomination process was initiated by a group of 5 NGOs, which already were working together with other initiatives and events regarding traditional costumes. And we found at a certain moment that we really wanted to try to lift it higher up, so to say, and started this in 2017. So it was a day of joy and happiness this December, and it was in Paraguay. I'd like to start with an explanation of the terms I used. The term folk dress refers to clothing traditionally worn by rural population for everyday work, church going, or also special occasions. And the traditional folk dress evolved through a blend of local customs, external influences, creativity, personal taste, and they were often different from the fashion trends which were seen in the urban areas. By 1905, the traditional folk dresses were still in use in some areas, while in other areas people have started to wear more modern clothes. But during the early 20th centuries, two parallel approaches to traditional costumes emerged in Norway. One approach involved creating new traditional costumes inspired by the existing folk dress or other kinds of folk art. And this is the ones who are named bunad. The other approach focused on continuing the old folk dress tradition as accurately as possible, and those are the folk dresses. And there are still today in a very few areas living traditional folk dresses, and the most typical or the one which is easiest to define is the dress customs or kofte used by Sami people population. And that is the one you see in this picture, in the right picture here. Meanwhile, in the left picture, those are the bunads, constructions made upon pre-industrial clothing manners. And also in this picture, you see a selection of traditional dresses from the northernmost country. Those are the kofte, as mentioned, from the Sami population in the left picture, and in the picture in the middle, the girl in the green dress, that is a bunad, still from the northern areas, from the region of Nordland. And the lady to the right, she is dressed in a bunad from Finnmark. In total, there are more than 450 different bunads or folk dresses in Norway, and each one are connected to a specific region or with local variations. And the traditional costumes are worn by people of all ages, genders, and social backgrounds. The costumes have since the early 20th centuries been an integral part of family celebrations. These regional folk costumes represent today a living cultural heritage which has been cherished in our country for more than 150 years. Already in the second half of the 1800s, the national romanticism flourished and the need to define a distinct identity became very important. Clothing costumes became a significant markers to the national building process. And they are, as mentioned, a vital part of Norway's intangible cultural heritage, and the practice is nationwide. The use is shaped by social norms within the families and local areas. These garments are also popular in folk dancing group and for folk music events. And also the headsets or hairdressing differs a lot according to the region and local traditions. And there are 150, maybe 200 different kinds of headsets. So, who are the bearers and practitioners then? Yeah, as mentioned, we have about 450 or more than 450 different costumes. And whether through birth, upbringing, or family or community ties, these garments signal a deep sense of identity and belonging to a specific region, valley, or village. Families do often have several costumes which are handed down as children grow. Certain family members often take care of the costumes and ensure that everyone has something to wear, include the correct accessories. And the bearers and practitioners of these traditions includes everyone who owns and wears the costumes, as well as those specialized knowledge like the craftspeople. And 70% of women in Norway owns a traditional costume and about 20% of men. And some immigrants also proudly acquire their first traditional Norwegian costume when they become citizens, while others celebrate Norway while wearing their own traditional clothing from home countries alongside the Norwegian ones, because it's so widespread and common to wear your traditional dress on big occasions. When a young female member of the family becomes a teenager, the family starts to prepare her first proper costume, and this often in time for their confirmation at the age of 15. This costume is made to last for a lifetime, and it's altered and repaired as needed during that time. A costume like this might be brand new or also entail parts that are inherited. And bearers and practitioners of the traditions includes everyone that has it, as I said in the previous picture. Also among men, there is an increasing interest of acquiring the traditional dresses, but boys often receive them a bit later, perhaps for a wedding or their own wedding or some friend's wedding. And very often these are when the boys or men are in the 20s or also if more grown up in the 30s. These are examples of different dresses or bunads. Yeah, just worn at different occasions. And when do we wear it? Yeah. The use of the traditional costumes in family celebrations steadily increased throughout the 20th century. However, the most significant occasion where these costumes are worn is Constitution Day, 17th of May, when streets are filled with children, women, and men proudly dressed in their regional costumes. The traditional costume plays a central role in life's major milestones, and it's worn for important occasions such as weddings, funerals, baptism, confirmations, or anniversaries, graduation ceremonies at school, or also official representation as the Constitution Day, and it's also worn by our politicians at the opening of the parliament, and our royal family wears it. In fact, yesterday we got the news that our crown princess has received her 6th traditional dress as an official guest from a municipality in Norway for her 21st birthday. And sometimes the traditional costumes is even worn as a political statement. Here, 17th of May, the Constitution Day, then, and that day marked in 1905 a very important year in Norwegian history. It was then the Prince Carl of Denmark was crowned as a Norwegian king, and he took the name Håkon IV. And he was actually the first Norwegian king since 1319. Before this, Norway had been subject to both Sweden and Denmark. And the appointment of the royal house marked a final step of the dissolution of the union with Sweden, which began when Norway obtained its own constitution in 1814. Norwegian national romanticism flourished, and the need to define a distinct identity became crucial. So language, music, dance, and clothing costumes became significant markers in the nation-building process in 1800. And the future Queen of Norway, the British Princess Maud, was depicted in a regional costume from Hardanger as a way to show the Norwegian people she was dedicated to the country. And I mention this because this explains in many ways the background for the widespread and common use we have still today. And these are happy youngsters, nicely dressed for celebrating the Constitution Day. And in every schoolyard, all over the country, you will find celebration of the 17th of May. And that's regardless whether it's snowing or sunny. And you find people dressed in the regional or local costumes. In family occasions, as mentioned, it's very typical to wear it, for example, a baptism of a child. Or other kind of private celebrations. It might be an anniversary or a graduation party in the family. And official occasions, and here is an opening of an exhibition, and it's our Queen, Her Majesty Queen Sonja, which is the person right in the center of the picture, and wearing, as you see, a bunad, traditional costume. At the end of the 19th century, folk dances and folk musicians were the ones who started the revitalization of the traditional costumes. They will stay, and they still play a central role in this community today. The costumes create a sense of unity where dance, music, and attire becomes together, making the experience whole and complete for both the performer and those listening or dancing along. Dancers and musicians wear the traditional costumes during formal occasions such as regional and national competitions, where dance and music are at the forefront, both on stage and in the surrounding social context. The costume helps to emphasize the regional identity of the participation and provides authentic representation that honors the diverse Norwegian traditions. And if you like to make one or are curious to know the skills that are required, I put up this list so you can see it's quite complex. All the technical skills or highly specialized craftsmanship, which is required to make a complete outfit. And the examples that follows now are examples of techniques of embroidery and other things which is used in different dresses. And this belt in the left picture is a belt woven on a tablet weave. And brooches are also a part of the outfit, a very important one, in silver or gold. And they also variate and differs from region to region. And you might buy them made by a silversmith or goldsmith, like the lady we see in the picture, or of course, you can buy them more pre or industrial made from a goldsmith's shop. These are all the examples of the variation also of the brooches. And here you have some example of weaving techniques. There are a lot of ribbons in the Norwegian folk dresses, and especially in the western part, southwest and western part of Norway, you will find a lot of ribbons made on the rigid heddle loom, which is the one you see it in the middle of the picture, middle picture here. Or also, as mentioned, the tablet weaving technique, which is used for the big belts and the right picture here. Those you find in the southern part of Norway. It's a very difficult technique, or it's difficult to get it properly and rigid enough, actually. And today there are only very, very few persons that manage to make them. But if you like to make one yourself, if it's possible, and it is, we offer courses nationwide. And for more than 10 years, we have also had a more demanding, longer-term course. And if you are a young person, you can go to public education, which should have a duration of 2 years in school and then 2 years as apprentice in a workshop. And the living tradition is maintained and developed by the culture bearers, and it is dependent on skilled hands, not only the hands of the professional craft producers, but the common interest and engagement. And every person who is interested in learning how to make even the smallest part of her or his costume is a highly valuable person and culture bearer. And that is why our organization offers courses also all over Norway. And here is just an example of some of the detailed skills which is needed to learn. The laces made of gold threads or silver threads, which is very difficult because it breaks easily, or working with the glass beads. And every year, persons graduate from our long-term courses, and they are so highly appreciated. Without the practitioners and culture bearers who seek more knowledge, it is almost impossible to maintain the tradition. And these courses are of a week duration and held in a place where there's also accommodation for food and sleeping. And we do also have received students or attendance from abroad. So that is a possibility. Quite many of our practitioners and craft masters have reached a fairly grown-up age, so to say, and there are challenges in connection with recruitment of younger persons. And of course, this is something we work to try to cope with, because it's so difficult if we get a break in the traditional line or the knowledge. The skill has and knowledge has to be passed on to another person all the time. And this is from the western part of Norway, this elderly lady, and here you see how these beadworks are used. Very beautiful pieces, and it's exceptional work that takes hours and hours to do. And a few years ago, we had an exhibition in a museum in the western part where more than 1,000 different of these patterns of beadwork pieces were exhibited. Well, if you like to buy one, then yeah, that is also possible. Every costume is made on demand because it's tailored individually to you. You can order a dress from one of the shops, the member shops we have, Husfliden. There are 34 of those, or from a private custom maker. And since they're tailored to you personally, and they have many of these dresses have a lot of hand sew details, it will take some months to have it. And we do face challenges with production abroad. There are producers pretending having their production in Norway, while others talk openly about where they get especially the shirts produced. Because in some reasons there are huge problems to have enough skilled craft persons available to cover the request from the customers. Some people find the cost too expensive, and buying a traditional dress made abroad can be somehow cheaper, but the result you get is not the same. And this is also why our courses are important, because if you have a minimum of knowledge of the skills and experience which is required from a professional dressmaker, then you also get more respect from the craft work itself, and hopefully also a better understanding why the cost is how it is. I mentioned that we have some safeguarding instruments or institutions, maybe that's a better word. Those 5 NGOs that are listed first here are those who have collaborated steadily since 2017 with the nomination of the traditional costumes to the UNESCO representative list. And together we represent 35 individual members, 35,000 individual members all over Norway, and nearly 750 local craft groups or communities. And in total, we have 50 employees. And so together, in one way or another, we have activities all over Norway, not only regarding the traditional costumes, but also in other folk traditions like folk dance and amateur theatre. You might attend to public secondary school, which offers an educational program for becoming a traditional costume maker. But sadly, it's offered in very few places in Norway, and it's almost impossible to find a workshop that offers you an apprenticeship. So that's really a huge challenge. There is also one university in southern part of Norway, in Rauland, that offers a study, a master, and also bachelor and master level in studies in traditional art expressions that might be folk music or craft, or also folk dance. I said initially that I would come back to the nomination process. And why I mention it again is that for us, this process has been a tool to achieve a stronger recognition of bunad as a living heritage. And we wanted to raise awareness that there were indeed threats and challenges which must be taken care of. And we wanted to raise the understanding of the need of a different craft skill, and in this way also obtain a respect for the practitioners. And we emphasize an understanding that shared responsibility in this matter of safeguarding our cultural heritage. For maintaining the living tradition, it is necessary that we have as many various craftspeople, producers, politicians, and people in general who share the interest and are conscious about the situation. And given the widespread popularity of these costumes, strong public ownership was very essential for us during this process. And we, the NGOs, have collaborated closely with local communities and groups across the country to ensure that the initiative was rooted among those who wear and uphold the tradition. And here are just a few fun facts for those who might be curious. The form is tricky because the space you have for filling in is a very limited one, and the questions are wide. And there are 5 areas or criteria which must be answered in a satisfactory way. And from you send your application, well, it's a state that sends it, and until the inscription, it takes at minimum 20 months, and those months are quite exciting. I really, how can I say, not challenge you, but I suggest that you have a look at the UNESCO website because it's a fantastic possibility to dive into hundreds of living traditions. And there you can watch 10-minute long films describing all the different inscribed elements in a very good way. And you can also read the complete nomination documents if you like to. And then you also have a lot of information about the different traditions. And this link here, it goes to the film of the traditional costume inscription. But if you go into UNESCO ICH website, and you can scroll for year or country, or also you have other keywords like textile or tree or whatever. So it's a very system which is easy to maneuver. And now I'm closing up, and if you like to learn more, see more, you can follow us, the Norwegian Folk Art and Craft Association, on the website husflid.no. And for the nomination purpose, we made this bunadbruk.no, and there is also a Facebook and an Instagram konto in according to that. So you're welcome to go there and follow us, of course. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Solveig. I have to comment that almost a year ago, in the end of May and beginning of June, many of our members and I too had great opportunity to see all the glory and beautiful costumes that you have when we visited Bodo in Norway. And we walked in our folk costumes with you, and there was so beautiful. Several people wearing their traditional bunat dresses and really fine jewelry and head covers was one of the things that really were fantastic. Some of them we couldn't understand how you carry them into a next place with you.
That's true.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Liis. Thank you.
Yes. And from here on, Liis Luhamaa from Estonia is going to speak more of the folk costumes that we have and how we organize them. And one more reminder for all of you who are listening that please keep your microphones muted.
Okay, thank you. And thank you so much for Solveig for this presentation. I didn't write any questions to chat, but I'm sure to have many questions when we meet again. Like Leesburg, I was also in Norway last year, and of course it was amazing to see all these wonderful Norwegian brunats. But now to my presentation, and let's see. Okay. So I hope you are seeing my shared screen, and I am talking now as a board member of Estonian Folk Art and Craft Union, and also as a member and participant in the work of NGO Rahvarõivas, which means Estonian National Costume. And I'm also a researcher, a craftswoman. I do a lot of dyeing. I'm also a spinner. I weave. And since 2017, I have been making Estonian national costumes. So the first one I made was in Pärnumaa National Costume School. And a lot of my talk is going to focus on our national costume schools, because I find that this is a really important part of the tradition that we have today in Estonia. And this is this big grassroots movement, how our traditional clothing is evolving and going forward. Like Solveig started with some terms, I would also like to define what we think when we say Estonian national costumes or Estonian folk costumes or traditional clothing. And these are based on Estonian rural festive clothing, and these are mostly from the end of 18th century and until the first half of 20th century. It depends very much on the region and on the parish. In some parishes, we have these older clothing information from the end of 18th century. And in some regions, mostly in the western part of Estonia and also on the islands, people were making and wearing traditional clothing for a long time, even in the 20th century. So in these regions, you can have much newer clothing. And the costumes that we make today, They are all based on either historical clothing items that we have in our museums, or in private collections. Again, in West Estonia, we still have many old traditional clothing items that are in private hands, and we can use this information. And also, of course, everything that we can read from archival texts or see in drawings, in pictures, and even in photos that were made in the 19th century and even in the beginning of 20th century. And altogether, Estonia has 4 regions for national clothing: West Estonia, North Estonia, South Estonia, and the islands. And we have, I wrote 108 parishes, but for those who like to nitpick, we actually have 106 parishes, but we have 2 islands who are considered like their own parishes, Kihnu and Pakri. And the making of national costumes became most popular during our first independence in 1920s and 1930s, but it stayed alive during the occupation time, thanks to the dance festivals and the song festivals where people wore the national clothing. And at the same time, this brought us many simplified costumes, which we sometimes call even uniforms. There were not many books about national costumes, and also the availability of materials was limited and different from what we had historically. But it was a very important thing to have this this tradition stay alive and go forward. And I'm not going to talk much about the folk dances in Estonia. There are people who know much more about this, but they are all wearing Estonian traditional costumes. And if you want to take part of the big festive dance festival, you have to have proper national costumes. And I already have my tickets. We have this big dance festival this year as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. And here are the institutions, the main ones that are cooperating in the field of national costumes. Estonian Folk Art and Craft Union is this big umbrella organization, and NGO Rahvarõivas is a sub-union of the Estonian Folk Art and Craft Union. And we also have now already 12 regional advisory chambers in Estonia who are working with their regional local folk costumes, and everyone can turn to them and ask about the costumes there. A really important thing in Estonia, I think, is that you can learn handicraft basically in every educational level. So starting from kindergarten, and in Viljandi Culture Academy, the craft education has been taught for a long time, and you can get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in craft heritage. We also have several vocational schools that are teaching about national costumes and traditional handicrafts. We have the Folk Culture Center and the Estonian Qualifications Authority, and of course our many museums are very important in this field. And on the picture, you can see Anu Randma, who is the head of NGO Rahva Rõivas and who herself has attended 3 national costume schools and made national costume for herself and for her husband. But she's also a teacher, and today she can't be with us because she has classes. NGO Rahva Rõivas, or Estonian National Costume, is like I said, a subunion of this bigger umbrella organization of handicrafts, and we work in the field of national costumes. Our main aims is to support the work of regional advisory centers and to manage and improve a big Estonian national costume web portal, rahvarõivad.ee. And we are also organizing regional national costume schools and events to introduce and promote national costumes. And right now I am going to talk more about the national costume schools. On this picture, you see that the Estonian national costumes are not only made in Estonia, but we also had a costume school in the United States, mostly in Chicago, but this took place during the COVID and was an online course. But it was a very successful one, and the members of Estonian diaspora could make their own costumes in this course. So, like I said, I find our national costume schools where people can come and make their own costumes very important in this field in Estonia. And they are 2-year courses, and there are no limits to who can participate. So everyone who wants to join and who feels that they can make the costume themselves can participate. And like the minimum aim is to make a so-called basic national costume of one parish, which means that when you finish the school, you have a costume that you can go out and you have all the important parts of the clothing, like stockings and shoes and skirt and shirt, sometimes also a jacket or a scarf, and if you're married, then an apron and headwear. And they take place, the courses where people come and learn to make the costumes. They take place during one weekend in a month. And of course, you have quite a lot of individual work as well. And this year, we have one school that finished already in Estonian National Museum, and a new course has started again there. And so these are not just the schools organized by NGO Rahva Rõivas, but by other NGOs and museums as well. And we have 5 schools that are taking place right now in Pärnumaa, Raplamaa, Harjumaa, Tallinn and Viljandi. And Pärnumaa and Tallinn schools are the ones organized by NGO Rahva Rõivas. I am taking part of Pärnumaa's school, and we have our graduation on the 31st of May. So it's quite hectic. It's funny how you have 2 years to make the costume, but then the last 2 or 3 months are very busy. And there are 2 schools that should start in autumn, in Vooremaa and Virumaa. And this weekend, a really special course is starting here in Pärnumaa, where the participants are going to make traditional sheepskin coats. And this will also take quite a long time, because they will start from zero, and hopefully we will have really beautiful new coats from Pärnumaa. And so when a school starts, then the people, we don't have like ready costumes. It's not like you come and you say, you are like proposed, this is what you can make. Basically everyone starts from zero. So first you have to choose which parish you feel connected to. So maybe your parents were from this parish, or you are living there now, or your relatives were from there. So we really encourage people to research where are their roots and where they feel a connection. And once they have the parish, then they are going to choose what is the main artifact that they are going to like build the costume around. Quite often it is for women, it's a skirt. So you can research our museum database or books and find a skirt that you like. And then you can start adding the other artifacts that are from the same parish and from the same area. I can tell you that for me, when I went to the folk costume school the second time, it was not a skirt. It was I wanted to have a costume with comfortable shoes. So my first costume was a newer one from the end of 19th century. And then the women in Lihula in West Estonia, they already wore shoes with heels. And now I wanted to have a second costume with these leather shoes that we call pastlad in Estonia. And this actually gave me the era from which my costume has to be from. And it's like the center of the 19th century, when the women in my parish still wore these shoes. And then I started to collect the other items. I knew that I had to find a skirt with natural dyes and other items that were from this period. And here you see on the picture what a school day in Pärnumaa National Costume School looks like. It's a bit more messy maybe than usually, and there are many handicraft techniques taking place at the same time. So everyone is at a different place and making what they have to. So someone has just warped a pickup woven belt on the left, there is some knitting I see on the table, a lot of embroidery. Everyone is always working on their shirts. And actually there is an lecture taking place about how to organize your samples. The main principles I've already touched a little upon, how the costumes are put together. So we are choosing the items from museum collections or private collections that are from this time period and from this parish, and they can also be reconstructed based on information in archival sources. One important thing or quite special thing in Estonia is that once the costumes have been put together, the students go to the museum and actually study the original artifacts. Here you can see Anus Loorach, who came to Estonia from the United States, and on the left she's studying the original items, the apron and the jacket from the 19th century that she made the copies of for her costumes. And we try to make as little loans as possible. Sometimes it is necessary. Then we, when there are no items in the museum collection, then we loan them from neighboring parishes. And we regard the time period so that the items that we choose are from the same time period. And once the costumes are put together, they are looked over by the teachers, and we always ask for input from the regional costume experts so that everything is in order, which means that every costume that comes from our national costume schools is individual and original, and it also gives people the opportunity to choose items that have handicraft techniques that they are interested in. For example, I'm always looking for something that I can dye. So my first costume was an doubly cut skirt, and other people may choose some items, headwear or sleeves that have a lot of embroidery, who like to embroider. So everyone can have a choice in what they're making. And these are some pictures of people being very happy in their freshly made national costumes. So some graduation pictures from different national costume schools. And these are always very festive and happy events taking place, sometimes outside, sometimes inside, depending on when the school finishes. So in Pärnumaa, we were in a lovely garden in a spring day. In Voorema, the graduation was in December, so they were in a museum. And the Tallinn school is always walking around and taking pictures in Old Town, and there's also the Chicago graduation. And when the school graduates, we also take pictures for our webpage of these new and lovely costumes. And so some examples. when people make more than just this basic costume. So sometimes people just come, make this one costume, and they have their own national costume. But sometimes people get hooked on making these traditional clothes. And Maia Agur is an amazing example of someone like this. She has attended all 4 Pärnumaa national costume schools. So she has graduated 3 times, and now she's attending a 4th time. And so first she made this basic costume that you see on the left. She's actually already wearing a second skirts. First, her first costume was with a skirt fabric that she didn't weave herself, but this one she already made herself. And then she went on and started making extra items. She made an overcoat and gloves and a fur hat, a winter hat, so she can go out during winter, being fully clothed in traditional clothing. And then she made a new coif. So the first one on the left was made with cotton threads, but the one on the right is made like the original one with the silk threads. And also she made a short jacket for chillier days in summer. And now she's making Gaudru parish costume for her daughter. I guess she has everything she needs for herself now, and now she's doing something for her family. And you can also have someone like Piiba from Harjumaa National Costume School, who has made several costumes from one parish. So these are costumes from different time periods. There are some that are, the first one is from the first half of the 19th century. It has this amazing tassel that's not visible here now, but if you go to the web page and check out Jüri Parish women's pictures, you can see the coif that she has with the tassel. So the middle one is from the 19th century, from the middle of the 19th century, and then from the end of the 19th century. And she has also made a costume for her husband and for her daughter. And all these people making these costumes, they are visible in our web portal rahvaraivad.ee, and you have one parish but many costumes, and this is mostly thanks to the people participating in our folk costume schools. There are some parishes that are more popular. Muhu is probably one of them, but you can also see in a web page where there are local folk costume schools. There are also more galleries and more costumes. And hopefully someday every parish has these many examples of national costumes, but now there are some that don't have any galleries, and every time a new course starts, we encourage people to look and maybe choose a costume from this parish if they feel connected to it, so that we can have examples of all these regions. And the National Costume School, it can also be an outlet for a professional handicrafter Inna Raud is one example, who is a teacher. She has taught in vocational schools. Now she's teaching in Viljandi Culture College, and she's a craftswoman. She has made clothes for our president, and she is also she's been participating in national costume schools as a student as well. So her first costumes were from Vändra parish that she made, but then she joined the Pärnumaa school and made the clothes from Ruhnu parish because she said she wanted to study new handicraft techniques, new costumes, and now she's the leader of Viljandimaa National Costume School. And she's not only teaching, but she also is making the clothes herself so that she can develop as a craftsperson and really be a good teacher, which is so admirable. And thanks to the schools, we have new teachers. We have people doing research in traditional crafts. Kadi Vingisaar, she started her journey in Tallinn National Costume School. Then she really liked embroidery, so she went and defended her master's degree in heritage technology, studying embroidery techniques, and now she's an embroidery teacher in our schools. Leilo has graduated Pärnumaa National Costume School and has studied extra weaving in Olustvere Vocational School, and now she's a weaving teacher. And Tiina Kull, I had to use a smaller font so that I can fit everything that she has done on this slide. So she has made the Maarja Magdalena costume in Estonian National Museum school. She now has her own advisory chamber in Vooremaa, her own national costume school, and she also has a master's degree in heritage technology, but she even went to study in Tartu University, and she's now a PhD student studying Estonian folk costumes. And everything that we do becomes visual in this web portal that we have, rahvaroivad.ee. And this shows you the diversity of Estonian national costume and also gives you all the contacts you need for if you want to ask about this or from your region. And you will find information on the literature that we have on traditional clothing and traditional techniques, and also pictures of different events that we have had concerning the national costumes. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Liis. And we have some questions for you.
Ooh, people have woken up.
Yes, it's always this way. We have a saying about Estonians that when they come, they don't make anything. And if it's time to leave, then they wake up and start doing everything. But as a percentage, how do you say that how many Estonian people have folk costumes themselves?
I really don't know. I must say, because This is difficult. Well, I can tell you that well, we have more than 20,000 folk dancers, but they, of course, some have their own costumes, but some have have a costume of like this dance group. They don't have their own costumes. What I can tell you is about how many people are attending the national costume schools, and it's about 80 a year. It can be up to 80, so we have 5 to 7 schools, and yeah, I would need Anu now, but I think they have calculated that about 800 people have graduated from all the schools that have been taken place in Estonia. So a difficult question, sorry. I don't have a good answer.
Yes, it's hard to answer to that question directly right now, but it would be quite interesting topic for a small research.
Yes, yes.
Are there male participants as well in the folk costume schools, and how old are or were the youngest participants at all?
Ah, okay, good question. Yes, yes, we have male participants. And for example, in Pärnumaa, we have now one male participant, Kalle. Kalle Kaart, and she is, oh, sorry, he is not making only clothes for himself, but he's making it for his family, so for his wife and for his daughters as well. And there have been male participants in Estonian National Museum folk costume school as well. And the youngest one was the question. We had one girl in Chicago National Costume School, and she was, I think, 14. So she had a mother as well making clothes, but she also attended and made several things herself. And in Voorema, an 18-year-old girl, I think, graduated in December, and she actually wore the clothes to her high school graduation that she made herself. And she's now studying or starting to study in Viljandi Cultural Academy, the traditional crafts.
Mm-hmm. I have a comment here too, because as I am also from Estonia, then we just had a big folk costume exhibition, and there were out presented 2 men who had totally made their costumes themselves. So I don't know if they had taken part of this big school system, but single courses they have taken, and they had, one of them at least had even woven the material himself and felted the hat and knitted the stockings and so on. So there are really great men doing the whole costumes, but not participating in the whole long-term course.
I think he was from the Estonian National Museum course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
But I'm sure he has done extra work. He's actually, I can tell you that he's actually been maybe I have had, so I do dye workshops, and I've had, I think, twice a man attending, and he was one of them. So he's not only weaving, he's also, or knitting, he's also dyeing.
Yes, and he's really curious. Any topic he is taking a course of, then he's all the time asking a lot. This is the way to go on with that. And other comment was about Vormsi Islands, where meanwhile the craft lessons in the secondary school level, they are making themselves for costumes that they are graduating their 9th grade in. So this is thanks to the local government, the school craft teacher and the school system there. This is quite unique in Estonia that they are keeping it alive. Now there is question for both Solveig and Liis. Are you also involved in product development? I'm a bit confused that which product development, or in this other hand,
well,
that are you a
I don't know if
craftsman?
this was the aim of the question, but in Viljandi Culture Academy, there is a lot of work being done in using our traditions, traditional techniques, traditional clothing in a contemporary way. So making contemporary clothing or even collections. So it's our traditional crafts are being used a lot, I think, in Estonia by people. So
And if I'm going to answer that, I would say the university study I mentioned, they as a part of the study, you are, as a student, challenged exactly to do what Liis just explained, that you look at the traditions and the traditional expressions and you find new ways of using it, but that doesn't necessarily have to be textile. It can be jewelry or whatever, actually. In general, I will say that it's not that much developing a new product which is serious. There are commercial initiatives like umbrellas or raincoat for dogs, what you call it, ties for men. So very, very commercial, but it's like a very rapidly flop, if you know what I mean. It pops up and it doesn't remain. But there are some initiatives, some tentatives, but not seriously. There has been, though, development looking at the shirts. No, sorry, the shirts. Adding new shirts to certain areas, traditional costumes, which traditionally is not worn. That comes to color or patterns, but it, like fashion waves in a way. But they are not very huge. But they are, but not very noticed.
I would maybe also add that because the making of traditional clothing is so popular, and there are some specific materials you can't get nowadays that have to be made specially for these old types of clothing. We have some product development also where people or the entrepreneurs make fabrics mostly for costumes. For example, Maribuk and Hilda, who is printing, reconstructing the old patterned cotton fabrics, or Eva-Liisa Kriis, who is weaving linen shirt fabrics and woolen fabrics. So we have this as well.
Thank you. And then there is one more question for Liis about the financing of the schools. Are the participants paying, or there is public financial support to hold them?
It can be both ways. Well, all the participants are always paying, but sometimes if a school is taking place in a more rural area, there can be extra funding from the state and from several programs. So, for example, in Tallinn, the participants have to pay for the whole thing, and then the price for one weekend is over 100 euros, so it's 2 days. But now here in Pärnumaa, we are quite a rural region, and we can get extra funding, and we are only paying half of this. So it's different.
Thank you both for your time and effort to make this webinar happen. And each of them you can Google and contact on their marked websites that they both mentioned in their presentations. And I'm happy that this first webinar finally happened, because in our eco community we have talked a lot about it, but we have all together planned 3 different webinars during this year. So check our social media and the webpage where and when will be happening the next webinar. Thank you all, and good night. And Veronica, you can stop recording. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.